Hi, I'm Karlin Borisenko. In early 2020, I was the knitting Democrat who accidentally went viral on the internet for going to a Trump rally and then left the party. I became the conservative darling, was on all the shows, traveled around the country, and then realized that conservatives were no better than Democrats. If there's one thing that I've learned, it's that both political tribes are two sides of the same coin. But it wasn't all bad. On my journey, I became obsessed with understanding the woke ideology and the culture war. I broke the story of the city of Seattle doing segregated training with its employees.
How bad has this stuff become? The city of Seattle has now put out, I'm not kidding you, this is according to Dr. Carolyn Borisenko, who's an organizational psychologist. The city of Seattle asked its white employees to voluntarily spend a day off in a training about their internalized racial superiority.
I broke the story that led to the first ever federal lawsuit against critical race theory in the schools. I broke the Coke Be Less White story, one of the biggest anti-woke stories of all time. It got over 30 million views. Coca-Cola's corporate headquarters even had to change their outgoing voicemail.
Throughout the past few days, you may have seen inaccurate reporting on the content of our recently launched diversity, equity, and inclusion training program.
I exposed the schools in Burlington, Vermont for grooming middle school children live on the internet. They called me an unwoke cult leader for that. And the Vermont Human Rights Commission slandered me publicly as being a hate channel. I even got called a hero in Breitbart for exposing that the Washington Post was writing a hit piece on Christopher Rufo. I have broken story after story after story about what's going on in the public schools, from Cambridge, Massachusetts, to autistic sex education, to the Department of Education in Michigan, literally training teachers all over the state how to groom children. I wrote a book called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against the woke insanity in your life. I host a podcast all about fighting back, and I'm downloading all of my knowledge to you on my Substack, carlin.substack.com. The world is a crazy place. We are literally surrounded by cults on all sides. On this show, we're going to do a deep dive into all aspects of the culture war, and I will show you the dark, dystopian underbellies on both sides. Here are the commitments I'll make to you. I will always tell you the truth. I will always bring you receipts. And if you stick with me, I promise you will see the world differently. Welcome to the cult. Please mount that like button for me and subscribe if you feel so inclined. Well, hello, everyone. Happy Monday. Welcome to The Cult. The Cult is a show that I stream round about 5 o'clock on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday on my main YouTube channel, on Odyssey, on Rockfin, on Rumble, on Twitter, on Gitter, on Facebook, maybe a couple other places as well. And then, of course, on Saturdays, we go live at 6 p.m., 1 hour later for Socialism Saturday, where we watch the farthest left of the far left, the most dystopian of the dystopian, and we talk about it. But during the week, we try to do, informative little lessons. We do watch parties around other things. We do woke training and stuff like that. And this is a show where we break down both sides of the culture wars because, of course, we don't just go after the left on this channel. All tears are tasty to us. And I'll tell you what, I've absolutely been making some conservatives cry on Twitter today, and I don't feel bad about it. Because here's the thing, guys. The hardest part, people don't believe me when I say this, the hardest part of fighting back against the woke left, which by woke, I mean authoritarian. Yes, that does include the socialist, but not all socialist. But it's not only socialist, rather. But the hardest part about fighting back against the woke left, I've been doing this for going on 4 years. It's about 4 years ago now that I started. Actually, you know what? It's almost exactly 4 years ago that I started red pilling. It was around this time back in 2019 that I started red pilling. And so I've been, getting red pilled is like a process, right? First, you have to wake up to the fact that everything that you ever thought was true was a lie. Then you have to, in my case, I had to wake up to the fact that the side I had aligned myself politically with for 20 years sucked and was the main perpetrators of all the evils of society. And at that point, I thought that, the conservatives, they must be onto something right then because they know how crappy the left has been for a while. Well, no. The problem was at the time when I red pilled, conservatives were in power, so they were a little bit more comfortable. So they were nicer. They kind of hid their true beliefs privately. And then after Donald Trump left office, conservatives lost their damn mind, and you find out they're just as bad as the left. The reason I say this is like red pilling is exactly Gala. The red pill is a very long and painful headspace. But being that I've been in this game for 4 years now, and I've seen, I, I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse. I really don't. But I've seen a lot. In 2020, I was around a lot of like high profile, like conservative social media influencers. And I'm not going to say they're all bad because they're not all bad, but like a lot of them are shills. And I don't know that if you can I don't know if you can really understand how bad these people are until you actually see them up close and you meet them in person and you talk to them in person and you find out what they're like when they're not like on the internet or Twitter grooming their image and building their brand and doing all this stuff. And they're just like there are a lot of really effing evil people that are doing commentary on the culture war. That's all I'm going to say. But my point is this. Neither side really has it right. And I've been in this game long enough now where I've I've crawled through the mud. I've had the mud slung at me. I have seen things from multiple different angles, and I feel like I'm in a pretty good position to do commentary on both sides of it because both sides are wrong. And both sides are tribalist. Both sides are two sides of the same coin. And I really do think that the only sensible place to be is to be making all of them cry on any given day. However, here's the bigger picture. I think I spend much more time looking at the far left, the woke left, the progressives, the socialists. Obviously, we do. We're getting into a very heavy bend on socialism on this channel. And the reason I'm going so heavy into socialism is we now see very, very clearly after a year of watching far left socialism on this channel, we see very clearly where the ideas of the woke left are coming from. We see very clearly where the talking points of the Democratic Party are coming from. Both sides are bad. The right and the left are both equally bad. The right and the left are both equally authoritarian. However, we spend more time on the woke left on this channel because the left is far more dangerous because they control all the institutions. They have successfully completed their long march through the institutions. They own all of them. They own higher education. They own the schools. They own entertainment. They own media. They own government. They own corporate America, more or less. They're getting inroads into the church. They are quite literally everywhere. And they're much more dangerous than the right. However, the hardest part about fighting back against the woke left is not the woke left. It's the conservative right. And it's not even by a little bit. The conservative right is their own biggest enemy. And I say that for several reasons. The first reason that I say that is that the conservative right downright refuses to understand the enemy that they're fighting. The conservative right is very fine in demonizing the left. They love demonizing the left. Oh, they're mentally ill. They're libtards. They're insane. Oh my god, they're just all working in their mom's basement. They're living in their mom's basement. They want to destroy religion. They hate our religion. The conservative right will make up every fucking excuse in the book for why the left is awful, and very few of them have any basis in reality at all. And while the right is making up all of these like crazy conspiracy theories about what the left is, and they never actually bother to watch the left, they never bother to listen to the left because the left does everything out in the open. They don't hide it. This is the vast majority of content on the channel. It's the left doing things online and us watching what the left is doing and then talking about what the left is doing, right? The right doesn't do that. They don't watch the left. They don't listen to the left. They just run around all day going, they're mentally ill, they're insane, they're litards, and they just hate our religion, and they hate white men, and they hate the fact that we're married, and they hate our religion, and none of it's true. None of it's true at all. It is so much hard. The right makes it so much harder to fight back against the socialist left than is necessary. Because they will, yes, exactly. We gotta own the libs, guys. Memes, own the libs. That's all we do. Because that's all they do. The right only makes memes, and that's literally all they know how to do. And this is a problem. It's because they think they're smarter than the left. Oh, goddamn right they do, and they're not. They're not. This is a problem for so many different reasons. The most important reason this is a problem is because if you do not understand the enemy that you're fighting, you can never, ever, ever win. This is a great example. Sarah with an H says, I've suggested people watch your content to understand the coded language, and their response is, she's a drama queen, she's a cluster B narcissist, and I would never watch her. She's a drama queen, guys. She is an anti-Christian bigot, okay? That's what they do. That's I can see it on, like, and this is the thing, is I am the only one creating content like this. I don't say that to pat myself on the back. I would quite frankly love it if more people were watching the socialist left, if for no other reason than there's like way more socialist content on the internet than I can ever dare watch. Like, there is so much content on the internet that we need to watch and we need to analyze that it is impossible for me to keep up with in any given week. And so I would sincerely and truly love if there were more people on the internet doing content like this. But I truly don't know of any. And I say this, guys, if you know of people who are teaching socialism like I'm teaching socialism by watching the long form content, by breaking it down, by showing you what's going on, if there is anyone else doing this, please tell me. I'm not trying to say I'm the only one who can do this type of content. That's not what I'm doing. I just don't think that anyone else is doing this. And no one has given me any names of anyone else who's doing this. So the problem is this, guys, is if you have one singular person on the internet saying, here's who the socialists are. Let me show you video of who the socialists are. Let's break down the socialist language. Let's hear what they're doing, because they're telling us what they're doing. Do you guys hear? They're telling us what they're doing. And the response from the right is, she's a drama queen, and she is an anti-Christian bigot, and we don't like her because she says mean things about conservatives, and she is a drama queen, and she is mentally ill, and she is a cluster B narcissist, which is the goddamn response every goddamn time. How do you expect to win? Truly, how do you expect to win if you are constantly shitting on literally the only person on the internet who is showing you the far left socialist content and then telling you what it means? This is what I'm talking about, Sarah. Thank you for the excellent example. Sarah with an H also says, meanwhile, Carlin is the best teacher. I've connected so many dots because of Carlin. I do appreciate it, guys. I really do try. And we're going to try again today. I really do try to teach people stuff. You know, James Lindsay does a different aspect of it. That's exactly right. James Lindsay and I do different things. I was accused of projecting onto the woke because so few do what you do. I mean, this is like the problem, guys. So the reason I say this is like, there are serious, oh God, yes. The funniest thing, and this has been in my Twitter feed all day, the funniest thing is when the conservatives call me a socialist. The point is this. There are very few people who are actually serious about tackling this problem. Sadly, the conservative right, the majority of them are more interested in feeling like poor, oppressed victims of the world than they are in tackling this problem. Conservative influencers don't know what the fuck's going on. They have no idea. I have said it before, I'll say it again. The people who watch my channel are about 2 years ahead of where conservative influencers are today. Conservative influencers are supposed to be like at the cutting edge. They're supposed to know everything that's going on. They're supposed to keep on top of this stuff. No, 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 no. They don't do it. Conservative media doesn't tell you what's going on. And it's just like, and so on and so on and so forth. I say this to remind people that there is no one coming to save you. You have to save yourselves. There is no political party that's going to save you. Believe me, I've been involved with 3 political parties in the last 4 years. The Democrats are useless, the Republicans are stupid, and the Libertarians are so fucking feckless, it's not even funny. I'm sure there are other political parties too. But ain't none of them, no political party is going to save you guys. You have to save yourselves. And I've been very blessed because of the coverage from the Socialism Conference that I've gotten over the past couple weeks, that I have actually a lot of new subscribers. I have a lot of new subscribers on the channel. I have a lot of new subscribers on the Substack. If you are a new subscriber, welcome. I'm really glad you're here. I hope you stick around a while. But I've gotten the same question over and over and over and over and over again in the past couple weeks. Carlin, what can I do to fight back against the woke left? And people think I'm going to answer them. Go and infiltrate a socialism conference. No, don't do that. Don't do that until you've prepared for a long ass time and you know how to speak socialist. Okay? No, this is not about running right out and infiltrating events. Although we do need to do more of that. I'm going to be talking about that in a second. This is not about tactics. And listen, I used to make this mistake. I really thought that if I gave the conservative right a checklist of like, here are all the ways that you can fight back against the woke left, then they would be able to go and do things, right? Well, I did that. I wrote a whole book about it. It's called Actively Unwoke, the ultimate guide for fighting back against woke insanity in your life. If you want a copy of the book, the link is in the description below. You can go to activelyunwoke.com. That'll send you right to the book. You can go to Amazon and find it on there, a hardcover, Kindle, audio version. And I literally did have 4 full chapters that are full of checklists that people can do, like actual tactics that you can do to fight back against the woke left in your communities. The problem that I found is that no one would fucking do it because we don't want to. They're gonna key our cars. We can't speak up against this. We have to have our kids in play groups with their kids. There were any sort of number of excuses about why people couldn't do the things in the book. So people have been asking me, what do you do to fight back? I quite literally wrote a book about that. And I found out that that wasn't good enough. Okay. So then we have to try. Oh, yeah, exactly. We have jobs. We can't do things. We have jobs. Exactly. So we're taking a step back because I think that I was so excited to get to tactics that I skipped over. And this is also because I was still learning and I was still evolving. This is a constant growth process. This is not something that's ever done. I skipped over an aspect that's really important to fighting back against the left. You have to understand them. I took for granted. It only became clear to me very recently how far ahead I was in my thought process about the left and how far ahead my consistent audience is in their thought process about the left. And the reason it only recently became clear to me is that I don't watch other people's content for the most part. Like every once in a while I will. We're going to talk about that today. But I don't have time for that. I don't have time to sit down and watch 3-hour YouTube videos. I don't have time to watch like Tim Pool, nor do I really want to watch Tim Pool, honestly. I don't have time for it and I'm just not inclined to do it. And so I stopped watching other people's content like at the beginning of 2021 and I got completely out of touch with where people were in terms of their understanding of the left. And I just like sunk myself in to learning as much about the far left as I possibly could to be able to break it down and explain it to other people. And so that was my focus for like 2 straight years until I realized that because I had become so focused and so obsessed, and I'd gotten my audience so obsessed with learning about this stuff, that at some point, this is like, at some point, this was like the conservative understanding of what the woke left is doing, and our understanding of what the woke left started going like this. We started dwarfing what most people know. I firmly believe, and I'm not saying, I think James Lindsay's audience, the ones that really listen to him, are kind of there too with this, but my audience is definitely there. I firmly and sincerely believe that we are at least 2 years ahead of where most influencers and commentators and pundits and journalists are in our understanding of this. And because we got so far ahead, what I didn't realize, and this is my fault, I should have done a better job of this. What I didn't realize was that people who were not following along with my content the way that my core audience kind of does, they were getting left behind in their understanding of what the left is. Because I watch obviously, like, I'm involved in every piece of content that I make. Spoiler alert, not everyone watches every 3-hour live stream that I do, okay? And I know that. And so at some point, we got so far ahead, and it was hard to understand why we had such a different perception of what was going on than like the Twitterati. And we were getting like really frustrated with them, going like, what the fuck are they even talking about? This isn't important, right? And so what kind of needs to happen is that we need to go back. I need to do a better job of going back and making sure I'm breaking things down a little bit better. Now, I do have a series on my Substack called the Woke 101 series that is starting to break a lot of this stuff down. That's available on the Substack now. But I guess coming back to the question that I've been asked by a lot of my new subscribers in the past couple of weeks. What can I do to fight back? What can I do to fight back? What can I do to fight back? What you can do to fight back if you are new to my content, and even if you've been around for a while, the very best thing that you can do to fight back is to learn the language of the woke left. You have got to learn their language. You have got to learn how to speak socialist, for lack of a better term. Because every single idea, guys, that you see being pushed on the left right now, whether it's a Democratic Party talking point, a progressive talking point, an AOC talking point, a Bernie Sanders talking point, it doesn't matter. Every single talking point that you see coming from the left are coming from the far left socialists. They're coming from the far left radical revolutionary socialists. This is not a joke, okay? We have reverse engineered all of it. And it comes from before this, Bobby, although I do believe that the Evergreen stuff is a great thing to watch. Benjamin Boyce's documentary, like 9,000 part documentary about Evergreen State College, is a must watch for everyone. He did such a tremendous job with that. And it's really a good introduction. However, we've reverse engineered farther back than that. We know. I don't read the theory like James Lindsay. I don't read the academic literature because, quite frankly, I would lose my mind, and he's already doing it, so I don't have to. And so I'm perfectly fine watching their trainings and stuff like that. Where I have focused for the last, year plus in regards to the far, far left is that I look at their trainings. I look at the things they teach each other. I look at their classes. I've gone to 2 of their conferences now in person. I listen to their podcasts. I listen to the presentations they do about their books. I listen to their panel discussions. These are all things that are showing up in the real world. It's how they're teaching their ideas to other people. And what we see when we watch far left trainings is that is where the talking points of the Democratic Party are coming from. That is where all of the talking points on the left are coming from. That is where critical race theory is coming from. That is where gender ideology is coming from. That is where queer theory is coming from. That is where every crazy, wacky idea that you see integrated into the schools, it is all coming from the far left radical revolutionary socialists. And the 4 goals of the woke left are always and forever the same. Gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism, usher in their Marxist utopia. Every single thing they do is designed to meet one or more of those 4 goals. And so if you want to be effective in fighting back against the far left, what you need to do, the very first thing you need to do before jumping in and doing anything in your community, before going to any sort of socialist conference, before any of that, is you need to understand the language of the far left, because the far left does not speak English. They speak socialist. It is a coded language. And it's this coded language that is getting in the way of the conservative right understanding what the ever-loving F they're talking about. Because conservatives are very inclined to interpret everything literally. They have rigid mindsets where they interpret everything literally. This is a problem because most of the time when the far left is using a term, they don't mean it in a literal way. They are using it to represent some element of capitalism and trying to destroy capitalism in some way. We're going to talk more about that in a second. I want to take this super chat from Naruto. It's like what happened to Eric July last night. A queer activist called him bourgeois, but he doesn't understand what that means. That's right. Naruto understands what bourgeois mean. What does bourgeois mean? Anyone in the chat? Pop quiz in the chat. What does it mean that Eric July was called bourgeois by a queer activist? What does that mean? I'll wait for your answers, guys. In the meantime, please do mount that like button for me. Bourgeois. Yes, Eric July is a capitalist, so that makes sense. Capitalist, 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 capitalist. CEOs, homeowners, landowners. No, not middle class. This is not correct. This is not correct. The middle class does not exist. Capitalists. The socialists don't think the middle class exists. I'm repeating what they think. He has private property. That's right. Private property. Private property. Eric July is a capitalist. He's a capitalist. Private property owner. Capitalist. Exactly, guys. Eric July doesn't understand what bourgeois means. We know what it means because we watch socialism. So that brings me to what we're going to talk about today. And this is an article that I posted on my Substack last night. We're going to talk about a couple other things as well. But this is going to be the main focus of our time here today, guys. Ayanna Pressley. Let's go into the article. It'll be a little bit of a better picture. Ayanna Pressley, last night, sent out this tweet. Abortion bans are rooted in white supremacy, perpetuate cycles of poverty, and put lives at risk. We must continue to leverage every tool available to affirm abortion care as the human right that it is. That tweet doesn't mean what people say it means. That tweet does not, she's not speaking English in that tweet, guys. She's speaking socialist. Aaron F. says, Billboard Chris needs to read my work. Oh, does he ever? Does he ever? But sadly, Billboard Chris is running with the group of conservatives that says, Carlin is insane. Carlin is a cluster B narcissist. Carlin doesn't know what she's talking about. She's an anti-Christian bigot, okay? And she has a bad attitude. And she says things we don't like to hear. So Carlin is insane. Billboard Chris has actually spread rumors about me that I'm mentally ill. That's the truth. And I messaged Billboard Chris when I found out that he was spreading rumors about me that I was mentally ill. And I said, we've never actually talked, so I would really appreciate it if you refrained from commenting on my mental health. And of course, Billboard Chris is such a good conservative that he never responded, because why would he do that? He, in fact, just continued to spread rumors that I'm mentally ill. Good conservative. Go tell him, bot. Anyway, guys, we know, Mock Girl already knows, white supremacy means capitalism. White supremacy means capitalism. That's exactly right. So, guys, what we're going to do, but this tweet is actually more in depth than this, guys. This tweet gets into, there are so many questions with this tweet that we can break down, right? Not just the white supremacy means capitalism, but once you break down that, why are abortion bans rooted in capitalism? That brings in the gender binary. That brings in the nuclear family. That brings in social reproduction theory, which socialists effing love. The conservative right has no idea about any of this stuff. So when Ayanna Pressley is tweeting this, what she's doing is not only firing up the far left, because the far left understands what Ayanna Pressley is saying. The far left understands that what Ayanna Pressley is saying is that abortion bans prevent them from attacking the gender binary, which prevents them from attacking the nuclear family, which is the nuclear family is the thing upholding capitalism, and capitalism is the thing that they want to abolish more than anything. So in order to abolish capitalism, they need to abolish the nuclear family. In order to abolish the nuclear family, they need to abolish the gender binary, and abortion helps them attack the gender binary. The far left understands this. The conservative right does not. The conservative right still thinks that the term white supremacy or whiteness means skin color. It does not mean skin color. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through this article that I wrote last night, and I break down every single element of this. And this is the language game that the left plays. The right understands on some theoretical level that the far left is playing a language game. They understand on some theoretical level that the left is redefining terms. They understand that things in the dictionary change. What they don't understand is the nuance with which the left is doing this. They don't understand the new definitions, and they just continue to roll with the old definitions. So there are all sorts of people in the replies to this tweet screaming about racism, 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 racism. This tweet has nothing to do with racism. And if you don't understand why, I'm going to explain it to you and I'm going to break it down. And I'm not trying to make you feel bad if you don't understand this, because quite frankly, a lot of people should have explained this to you before I did. And I don't have the platform they do. There are a lot of big time influencers that should understand this, that should be explaining this, that should be teaching you the things that I'm teaching you. Yo, you need to be quiet and to listen to what I'm saying. This is your typical conservative right here, and I understand you've been hanging around in my chat though. And so you should know by now. This is why conservatives don't fucking listen. You should know by now that white supremacy has nothing to do with skin color. I'm going to say this again. White supremacy has nothing to do with skin color. This tweet has nothing to do with black babies. It has nothing to do with Asian babies. It has nothing to do with Hispanic babies. It has nothing to do with babies at all. If you're going to be in my chat, guys, and you're going to participate, I'm going to remember who you are. And at some point, when you have been to several of my streams, when you've been to several of my socialism streams, and you're still not listening, it goes in one ear and out the other. This is the problem. Is that conservatives are so quick. Oh my God. Oh, racism, racism. They're calling us racist. They're calling us racist. They're calling us racist. Oh no. And then you throw in abortion too. And abortion is like their favorite topic. They're like, oh my God, they're killing babies. It's like everyone needs to fucking settle down so that you can understand what they're saying. Because if you continue to parrot the talking points of the conservative right without any regard for the fact that Ayanna Pressley in this tweet is speaking socialist. She's not saying anything about skin color. She's not saying anything about babies. This has nothing to do with that. If you don't understand that, then you have two choices. You can either keep your mouth shut and open your ears and start listening, or you will lose to them. I'm going to say that again. If conservatives don't start listening and learning how to speak the language of the woke left, then they are going to lose, and it will not even be close. And there will be no election that can save you. There will be no politician that can save you, because the left did not achieve their power through political means. They achieved it through institutional power. People have got to start learning this. If you do, exactly. Lady Hawk says, I guess I've been to too many of these streams. I saw this tweet earlier in the community tab and immediately thought, oh, white supremacy means capitalism and abortion supports abolish the family. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. The problem is that when conservatives don't understand what the language means, they react to something that the left is not doing. And they make all these videos about what the left is then what the left is doing when they're not actually doing that. And it creates so many more problems. And then they attack people like me who say, that's not what that tweet means. They go, you're socialist, libtard, mentally ill. They hurl every single insult because they didn't stop to listen and to learn what was going on. So sadly, I can't control everyone on the internet. Sadly, if wishing made it so. Conservatives would be so much more successful if they listened to what I was saying, but you know what? If they want to stick their fingers in their ears and go, me, libtard, mentally ill, me, they want to do that, they're allowed to do that. But what I can do is offer people who are open to learning the opportunity to learn this. And I will break it down, and I will explain it, and I will answer questions. What I will ask in return, guys, is that once I teach you this, I need your help. I need people to be sharing what I'm doing with other people. I need you to take the things that I'm teaching you, and I need you to go teach your friends. I need you to go teach your family. I need you to go teach people in the community. I need you to share articles like I wrote on the Substack. This article is free on my Substack. You don't need to sign up. You don't need to pay for it. If you want to support me on the Substack, you can. I hope you do. We're going to talk about that in a second, but I need you to share the articles. I need you to share the videos. I need you to share the clips. I need you to engage in conversations with people where you're teaching them this information, because I have 150 people on this stream on YouTube right now. I'm sure I've got some on the other platforms as well. So maybe we're reaching a couple hundred people right now. I can't teach everyone in the world. I don't have the platform for it. But if you go out and you teach one other person, then you've just multiplied the impact of this by 1,000, right? Like if you teach 2 other people, then you multiplied the impact of it. That's what needs to happen. Because I'm just screaming into the ether if people aren't going out and aren't sharing this information. And the only way that things are going to start to turn around is if people learn what the language means. So we're going to spend some time on that today. We're going to spend some time breaking down this language. I'm going to make sure every single person watching that is at least participating in my chat on YouTube understands this language. I'm going to give you chances to ask questions. Please do ask questions. I expect questions to be in good faith. I expect people who have been to multiple streams of mine to know better than to ask dumb questions, okay? This is a learning channel. This is not for your entertainment. I am not here to entertain you. I'm here to teach you. And if you're here to learn, then I will teach you. But I need you guys to be participatory in this. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So that's what we're going to be doing today, guys. A couple things before we get started. As I mentioned, do make sure if you want to support the work I'm doing, please do subscribe to my Substack, my main Substack. I have like 8,000 of them, but this is my main Substack. It is Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. I will pop it in the chat over on YouTube, but it is also in the description on whatever platform you are watching on. You can subscribe for free. A lot of my content is free on the Substack. However, I am completely 100% funded by you. So if you want to support the work I'm doing, then I need you to sign up. If you're financially able to, if you can't afford it, I understand. Don't worry about it. But if you can financially contribute to funding this content, because it does not get funded without subscriptions, then I would ask you to sign up for $8 a month or $80 a year. If you don't want to sign up on my Substack, you can sign up on my locals. You can sign up on my Patreon. You can become a member of the YouTube channel. You can send in super chats, whatever works best for you. You can subscribe to my Twitter, etc., etc., etc. But I do prefer people sign up on my Substack because it is my primary content hub. It is where all of my best content lives. And that's where I'm really trying to grow out the subscriber base right now. But whatever works for you is fine. It all does come to the same place at the end of the day. And now funding the Substack is even more important than ever, guys, because there is another conference that I want to infiltrate this year. I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'm not going to tell you where it is, because if I said that on the internet, then some hater asshole who's watching right now would tell the conference that we're coming and they would put security measures in place. And I'm not going to give away the surprise. All right. But there is another conference that I want to infiltrate this year. And I want to bring someone with me, which essentially doubles the expense. But the reason I need to bring someone with me is to get the broadest possible coverage of this conference. Okay, so we need 2 registrations. We need 2 hotel rooms. We need travel expenses to get there for 2 people. We need food for 2 people. All of this is funded out of my Substack and my other online platforms as well, but Substack is the main platform. I need at least 100 new paying members. And you can sign up on a monthly basis if you want to, that's fine. But in order to fund this, I'm going to need at least 100 new paying members, okay? And you can sign up for the monthly or the annual. The reason it needs to be 100 is because many people are going to sign up for the monthly membership, which only gives me $8 to work with, which is great. But like, you know, this is going to cost several $1,000s to be able to do. Journalism is not free. Producing this journalism is not free. It has to get paid for by some way. And if I don't reach a certain number of members, then I'm just not going to be able to fund it and it's not going to get made. And that's just going to be the way it is. Stephen B says, infiltrate it, baby. Thank you, Stephen B. I do appreciate it. So, guys, I am asking that if you can afford to do so and you value my work and you've been here a little while, please make sure you're funding it, because there are a lot of conferences I want to be able to infiltrate. There really are. This is some of the most valuable work that I think that I'm doing that no one else is doing. I will show you what's going on. I will show you their slides. I will show you their materials. I will show you what they're talking about. I will show you the teacher training and all that stuff. I will show you what the socialists are saying when they think no one's listening. Well, Stephen, I've gotten pretty good at this, so I'm not actually worried about it. To be honest with you. But in order for me to do all that, guys, I do need you guys to hold up your part of the bargain, which is funding the work I'm doing, because it don't get made unless someone pays for it. And if we all pay a little bit, then that means we all get to benefit from it later. So that's what you can do on my Substack, which I do greatly appreciate. Another way you can fund my work is by heading over to the Unwoke Art store, which is unwokeart.com. This is my merchandise store. And what I want to highlight today in the merch store is the Cheshire Cat Be Different collection. This is one of the most popular collections that I have in my store. I love it. I think I'm actually wearing the Cheshire Cat shirt right now. You can barely see it, but that is what I'm wearing. The mug is one of my most popular items in the entire store. It says "Be Different." Got the cool Cheshire Cat design. We got T-shirts as well. We've got water bottles. Lots of cool stuff. There's actually a mouse pad that Benjamin requested that I make. So I did make one of those. You guys can always request products if you want some. Sean H, thank you. I do appreciate that. And that's another way you can support my work, guys, is by heading over, checking out the merch in the Unwoke Art Store. And I do really appreciate it. Okay, please do make sure to mount that like button for me. Zally, thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. There's a couple other things I want to talk about before we get started. Oh, we'll talk about that in a second. Yay, Vivek Ramaswamy sharing my work. No big deal, guys. No big deal. Just a presidential candidate sharing my work. We'll talk about that in a second. There it is. So a couple of things before we get started. Number one, I have a special project that I'm going to be undertaking. It's like a side project. So I found out purely by happenstance that Randi Weingarten follows our friend Jesse Hagopian. For those of you who are new, you haven't been following along recently, I've talked about Jesse an awful lot. Jesse is a socialist teacher that I encountered at the socialism conference. He is a teacher in Seattle, a high school teacher. Jesse is on the steering committee for Black Lives Matter in Education. I have Jesse on tape saying that socialists need to push anti-racist education into schools like Black Lives Matter curriculum to create a socialist world. Because Jesse believes if students are taught anti-racist education like Black Lives Matter, then that will create a socialist world. Okay? So that's Jesse. We watched a couple of videos of Jesse lately. I was looking at Jesse's Twitter account, and I happened to notice something funny. Randi Weingarten follows Jesse Hagopian. Jesse Hagopian is not just like a run-of-the-mill socialist. Jesse Hagopian's more far left than AOC. Jesse Hagopian is more far left than Bernie Sanders. Jesse Hagopian is a radical revolutionary socialist. He's part of the Tempest Collective. He's part of the Zinn Education Project. He's part of this thing called Rethinking Schools that actively creates social justice curriculum that teachers can use in the classroom. Jesse Hagopian is about as far left as they come. Why is Randi Weingarten following him? Randi Weingarten is the head of the teachers union. Let's just go and click on her little thing right here. Randi Weingarten is the head of the American Federation for Teachers. Randi Weingarten is an advisor to the Obama, or not the Obama, well, oh God, what a Freudian slip I just made. Randi Weingarten is an advisor to the Biden administration, the Obama administration, the Biden administration. What's the difference? And for some reason, Randi Weingarten is following Jesse Hagopian. So I'm undertaking a little bit of a project. I would like for people to help me go through Randi Weingarten's following list. Now, this is a little bit of a project because I think Randi Weingarten follows about 5,000 people. But my question is this. How many far-left radical revolutionary socialist teachers is Randi Weingarten following? How many far-left groups is Randi Weingarten following? Like, maybe it's just one. Maybe this is a giant waste of time. It could be. But I really wonder what's going on. And so I want to start a little competition. If people can go through Randi Weingarten's list and find me more far left followers, or excuse me, people that she's following, I'm going to give you a little prize. If you can hook me up and point out to me. I'm looking for real ones, guys, real ones. I want real far left radical revolutionary socialists on Randi Weingarten's following list. And if you help me out and hook me up and find me some real far left socialists that she's following, I will give you free merch from my merch store as a thank you. It's a project anyone can do if you want to. If you don't want to, that's fine too. Here's Randi Weingarten's following list. I would like to just start combing through it just for funsies, just to see what comes up, because I think that if Randi Weingarten is following one radical revolutionary socialist, I'll bet you that she's probably following more than one radical revolutionary socialist, wouldn't you say? So you can email me what your results at activelyunwoke@gmail.com. You can DM me on Twitter. You can comment if you're a part of my supporter community. You guys have all sorts of ways to get in touch with me, so that would be great. Let's just, for funsies, guys, let's just go through Randi Weingarten's following list and just see what comes up. Maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's something. Who knows where that's going to go? Let's see. The other thing I want to talk about is this. Oh, Sargon. When I was red pilling, Sargon of Akkad played a key role in my red pill experience. I view Sargon of Akkad as kind of like Tim Pool in many respects. I watched a lot of Tim Pool when I was first red pilling. Again, this was back in like 2019. And my husband introduced me to Sargon of Akkad as well. And so I used to watch Sargon and Tim Pool like it back in 2019, and they were two of my main sources where I was really digging in when I was red pilling. Well, both of them have turned out to be a little disappointing to me in many, 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 many ways. But one of the most disappointing things I think about Sargon is like I think that both Sargon and Tim Pool are actually really smart people. I don't think that they're bad people necessarily. I think that they're smart people. I'm a little disappointed that Sargon of Akkad has not well figured out that there is a difference between liberal and socialist. And so when Mythinformed sent this out, well, I retweeted it today, I guess. They sent out this video of Sargon saying, the purpose of critical race theory is to institute communism. He's not wrong, but he doesn't understand why he's right is the problem. It is through weakness of liberalism that CRT has conquered. Liberalism can't mount a defense against CRT because CRT comes from within liberalism. Well, there's many things that are wrong with this. Number one, you think liberalism can't mount a defense to CRT? What have conservatives done? Because I live in a state where Republicans high-fived each other over passing an anti-CRT law. And because I was involved in that bill and I've read that bill that they're all like, we passed an anti-CRT bill in New Hampshire. I know that the anti-CRT bill that was passed in New Hampshire does not prevent the teaching of critical race theory in any way. In fact, there's a school district in New Hampshire that has on their homepage, on their website, it's SAU 16, it's the Exeter Region Cooperative School District. They have on their homepage that they are breaking the anti-CRT law, and they actually are. State of New Hampshire won't enforce it. So there's a law that doesn't actually prevent the teaching of critical race theory. The Republicans in the state of New Hampshire won't even enforce it when schools are bragging on their website that they're breaking the state law. Like, you want me to say that conservatives have mounted an offense against critical race theory? Because that's just stupid. But beyond that, what I actually tweeted here was, hi, Sargon. CRT does not come from within liberalism because it doesn't. Critical theory comes from socialists. Socialists and liberals are not the same thing. In fact, socialists hate liberals more than they hate conservatives. I really wish you guys would stop misinforming people. I feel like I was rather nice. I feel like I could have gotten way more heated, to be honest. I was like, please stop fucking lying. Can we just not? Because liberals and socialists are not the same thing. The socialists at the Socialism Conference spent more time complaining about the liberals than they did complaining about the conservatives, and that is the truth. Because socialists do not like liberals. Well, you know what Sargon's response was? You aren't even prepared to repeal the Civil Rights Act. Sargon of Akkad seems to be under the mistaken impression that I'm a liberal. Now, there may have been a time when I thought I was a liberal, back when I was way in the early stages of my red pill experience, where I was like, I'm a liberal. I've always been a liberal. I'm not giving up the title of liberal. I never said I was a classical liberal. However, I haven't considered myself to be a liberal in fucking years. I became an anarcho-capitalist like 2.5 years ago, when I realized how inept everything was, and then I was like, burn it all down. So not only, Sargon, am I in favor of repealing the Civil Rights Act, I'm in favor of repealing the entire federal government. So to say that you will never fight critical race theory because you will not even repeal the Civil Rights Act, bullshit, bro. And even furthermore than that, Sargon, I'm pretty sure I'm more far right than you are. I would like to burn down the entire Department of Education, figuratively FBI, figuratively. I'm not setting fire to anything. I would just like, if Vivek Ramaswamy came in and abolished it, I'm not crying or anything. Not only would I like to do that, I would like to defund public education entirely. I would like to completely privatize as much as we possibly can. And, if there was a way to get rid of the entire government and never see it again, I would be completely effing fine with that. So, yeah, that does actually include the Civil Rights Act, because I basically think that the government is ruining everything. And it took me a while to get there. I'll admit I wasn't an anarcho-capitalist overnight. But once I realized how stupid most people were, and that a high proportion of those stupid people work in the federal government, oh, I got there really quickly. I'll tell you what. But the reason I bring this up is because Adam Friended responded to me, and I've always liked him. I've always liked him and Sitch. I'll be honest. I actually really do like them. And he directed me to this 3-hour discussion that Sargon had, where he was deconstructing liberalism. And he said to me, I fucking love Adam Friended. He said to me, he was like, we had him on to talk about his ideas and we didn't even get past definitions. So my point is this, guys. There may be a Nitwits episode in the not too distant future. Maybe even tonight if I'm feeling sassy. Maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow. Actually, it'll probably be tomorrow if I'm honest about it. But there may be a Nitwits episode in the not too distant future in which I watch this 3-hour debate with Sargon of Akkad and Sitch and Adam, and I yell at the computer for at least 8 hours, because it's a 3-hour stream. So that means there's going to be at least 8 hours of yelling. And I asked Adam Friended, I said, am I going to be yelling at the computer at this? He said, oh, of course you are, Carlin. I was like, oh, great. So that'll be coming up. Look for that. And in the meantime, can someone please explain to Sargon that I'm a fucking anarchist, and that not only am I in favor of repealing the Civil Rights Act, I'm in favor of repealing probably more government than he is? Can someone please explain to him, in addition, that liberals and socialists are not the same thing? Am I asking too much? Am I asking too much? I don't think I am. All right, guys, those are our two little preambles. Let's get into what we're talking about here, which is Ayanna Pressley giving us an amazing moment to learn some socialist. Everyone, guys, please do make sure you mount that like button for me. Mounting the like button lets other people know to come join us so we can have more friends learning socialist. Let me just get the sound set up on this, because there are some clips that we can listen to if we feel like it. All right. Make this bigger for everyone to see it. Ooh, that's nice and big. There we go. A socialist in Congress claims abortion bans are rooted in white supremacy. But why? This is socialist coded language. I want to encourage everyone, no defending of Sargon when he's clearly and obviously wrong. He's been conflating the assumption that liberalism seems to make about equality as easily. Well, okay, again, like his solutions to this aren't real solutions. Anyway, I want to encourage everyone, as we're making our way through this, if you have questions, please ask them. Okay, I do monitor the chat during the stream, so I'll be keeping an eye on it. But there are also people here who have been watching this content for a very long time, and so they can explain things as well. But please, if you're new to my content and you're new to socialism, Please ask questions. I know I yell a lot. I know sometimes I shame people, but I will not shame you if you are new and you are asking a genuine question. I only shame people who have been around for a long time and that should damn well know better, because I have high expectations. You have to have an IQ of at least a 100 in order to even understand my content. That means that the people who watch my content are smarter than average. Now, the school system may have low expectations of you. Your employer may have low expectations of you. I do not have low expectations of you. I expect you to listen. I expect you to learn. If you don't understand, I expect you to ask questions. Okay? But understand that if I'm telling you no, or if I'm telling you that that's not correct, or I'm telling you that you're wrong, it is because I want you to learn and I want you to be better. And if you have a convincing argument to present me about why I'm wrong, present it. There are occasions in which I'm wrong. There are occasions, it doesn't happen often, but it does happen, where someone tells me, Carlin, you're wrong for reasons X, Y, B, and Z. And I go, huh, that's actually a really good point. And I will admit that I'm wrong if I'm actually wrong, but I will not admit that I'm wrong just to make you feel better, okay? I want you to learn. I want you to understand this information. So ask questions, and that's the only way that it's really going to work. Okay, let's see. Yesterday, Socialist Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley tweeted this. Abortion bans are rooted in white supremacy, perpetuate cycles of poverty, and put lives at risk. We must continue to leverage every available tool to affirm abortion care as the human right that it is. This tweet is an excellent example of socialist coded language, where they change the definition of common words to have different meanings that only other socialists understand. You may think you know what these words mean, but I promise you that you have no idea. I'm going to break it down bit by bit in this article. It is critical that people understand the coded language that socialists use because they are using it to beat us. Let's begin. Wrong. CRT depends on the complacency of conservatives. CRT's success because CRT critical race theory is in schools because conservatives haven't done shit to stop it. No tribalist shilling on this channel. In order to understand what Ayanna Pressley was saying in this tweet, you must understand the following socialist language and ideas. I'll break it down as simply as I possibly can. Let's start with white supremacy. All right, guys. What does white supremacy mean in the chat? What does white supremacy, whiteness, anti-racism, racism, systemic racism, what do they all mean in the chat? I want to see a chat full of fucking answers. I know you guys know this one. I talk about it every single day. What does white supremacy mean? Capitalism. I feel like you guys have this ready to go. Capitalism. All the words mean capitalism. They all mean capitalism. Whiteness, racism, systemic racism, white supremacy, anti-racism, colonialization. Or colonization. We're gonna get to that one a little bit later. Every single one of these terms is coded language for capitalism. White supremacy and whiteness have nothing to do with skin color. Nothing to do with it at all. It is always a reference to capitalism. Therefore, when Ayanna Pressley says white supremacy, she only refers to capitalism, not white people and not black people. It is not a reference to skin color at all in any way. There are a lot of white people that are socialists, guys. They don't care if you're white. There are a lot of white men who are socialists. They don't care if you're a white man. There are a lot of cisgendered people who are socialists. They don't care if you're cisgendered. There are even religious people that are socialists, and they don't care about that. None of that matters. It is only, are you a capitalist or are you an anti-capitalist? That's it. That's all it matters. Whiteness is a reference to the bourgeoisie, the ruling class, the capitalist, the private property owner. Yes, Ayanna Pressley is very aware that she's speaking socialist because Ayanna Pressley came up in these communities. She's been to countless socialist meetings. She knows she's speaking socialist. Blackness means the proletariat, the oppressed, the worker, the anti-capitalist. Okay? You do not have to be white to be guilty of whiteness. Jay-Z is guilty of whiteness. Ice Cube is guilty of whiteness. Larry Elder is guilty of whiteness. Why? Because they're all capitalists. It has nothing to do with skin color because people with black skin can be guilty of whiteness and people with white skin can be anti-capitalist. They use the language of skin color to confuse you because it has nothing to do with skin color. So when Ayanna Pressley says abortion bans are rooted in white supremacy, perpetuate cycles of poverty, and put lives at risk, here's what she really means instead. Abortion bans are rooted in capitalism, perpetuate cycles of poverty, and put lives at risk. Now, we're going to break down that capitalism bit for a second, but I want to make sure it's clear. Ayanna Pressley, because she's a socialist, does believe that capitalism perpetuates cycles of poverty and put lives at risk. Socialists believe that capitalism literally kills people. So that's not an exaggeration. That sentence still makes sense when you translate it into socialist. Now, we must break down how abortion bans are rooted in capitalism. To understand why abortion bans are rooted in capitalism, we must understand why the gender binary created the nuclear family and how the nuclear family upholds capitalism. Okay? So those are the concepts we're going through. Capitalism, gender binary, nuclear family, and how the gender binary and the nuclear family uphold capitalism. Can you explain why they say ban? I know some states are extreme. Well, some states are banning it. There are states that have flat abortion bans. Like, it is quite literally illegal to get an abortion at any time in some states. When they refer to white privilege, what are they referring to? Capitalism. It's all capitalism. Anything related to race is a reference to capitalism. Capitalist privilege. Socialists believe the following. Can you do a nuclear family? I'm not sure what that means, Kaiwan, but if you want to clarify. Socialists believe the following. Capitalism created the gender binary because it led to a division of labor. Rottweiler's actually saying this much better. White privilege means that you are a beneficiary of capitalism. Thank you, Rottweiler. I wouldn't have put it like that. But yeah, that's exactly right. You benefit from capitalism. Capitalist privilege. How many communists do you think are involved in the Biden administration? A lot. A lot. Okay, so let's go back to this. Capitalism created the gender binary because it led to a division of labor based on your gender. Now, socialists believe that gender is a social construct. All right, so they think it's all made up. But this is the big crux of why the gender binary is problematic for socialists. Domestic care and labor were assigned, quote unquote, assigned to women and were devalued by capitalism, meaning women had to do them without getting paid. So here is what socialists think happened. Capitalism created the gender binary, which is a social construct, and said men get to go work in industry and in the fields and outside of the home, and it's the job of women to work in the home, doing stuff within the home. And men, because they go outside the home, get paid money to go outside the home, but women do not get paid money because they're in the home, and the capitalist, the evil capitalist class has devalued labor within the home because they wanted to create this unfair, oppressive system where women were oppressed and men were on top of everything, okay? They created a hierarchy, and that hierarchy creates oppression, and because of the patriarchy, men were at the top of the hierarchy, okay? Now, when socialists say that domestic care work and labor, what they mean is motherhood. This is a reference to motherhood. When socialists say domestic care work and labor, what they mean is the task of birthing children and then raising the children. And the oppressive gender roles, which are created by capitalism, are necessary to maintain the nuclear family. The nuclear family also perpetuates the gender roles. Okay? So I want to pause there. Does everyone understand how, in the land of socialist, capitalism created the gender binary, and why that led to women doing unpaid domestic care and labor? Just do a quick pause. Let me see in the chat if you're following. We're not there yet, Gayla. Stay with me. We're not there yet. This is true, Kristen, but we're not there yet. Is everyone behind this? Capitalism created the gender binary by distinguishing between men and women, and men went out into industry and earned money, and women stayed in the home and were not paid for their domestic labor within the home. Hang on. Please don't do this, guys. Please don't do this. Please, because what we're learning right now is how to speak socialist. What I don't need is people saying, here are all the ways in which socialists are wrong. Socialists are batshit fucking insane, okay? Like, we know they're wrong. The point here is not to say, here are all the ways in which they're wrong. The point is to learn to speak their language. That's what we've got to focus on right now, because the minute that people come in and they say, here's all the reasons they're wrong and crazy and libtards and all that, mentally retarded and all this stuff, is the minute that people stop learning what they actually mean. We need to learn what they actually mean, okay? I know why people are doing it. I get it. I really do. But this is not about pointing out how this is stupid. This is about understanding. All right. It seems as though people get that. Now let's move on. Hang on. This is what I just asked you not to do, please. Well, actually, no, it's not. Hang on. I apologize. It's not. I misread it. How do they argue away gender binaries existed? They say that they didn't exist. You'll see this later. We're going to watch video later. They say that gender binaries did not exist before capitalism. Okay? Women have been doing the same job. Cindy, this is exactly what I don't need right now. Okay? This is exactly what I don't need. I'm going to ask you guys to stop doing this. Doing this does not help people to learn socialist. Okay, moving on. Here's where it gets crazy. Social reproduction theory. And there is an entire Socialism Saturday on social reproduction theory. We're probably going to do more in the future, but there is one right now that is actually was a really informative episode of Socialism Saturday. I highly recommend that people watch it, okay? But a quick overview of social reproduction theory is the socialist idea that the production of goods and services, as well as the production of life, are integrated due to capitalism. Okay? So basic mise en scène is this. The bourgeois have factories in which the proletariat go to work in the factory. The proletariat are the oppressed, abused workers that only work under capitalism to enrich the bourgeois who own the faculty, okay, or the factory. Every once in a while, the workers in the factory will need to be replenished. The proletariat who are having children as a part of the nuclear family are birthing the future workers that are going to go to work in the factory to enrich the bourgeois. So, because the future workers, the ones who are necessary to perpetuate the production of goods and services in the factory, the things that enrich the bourgeois via capitalism, because those future workers come from the nuclear family, it is the perception of the socialist that the nuclear family supports capitalism through the production of future workers. Does everyone understand? The communists and socialists have a completely different framework for understanding the world. Arguing what they have wrong under your framework of logic is missing the point. That's exactly right, Sean. I appreciate it. Well, this is correct, Milo. What is amazing is that this stuff is not new. Karl Marx wrote about this in the Communist Manifesto. That's exactly right. This is not new information. Okay, so people are on board. Social reproduction theory looks upon the act, therefore, because social reproduction theory says the workers being produced in the nuclear family uphold capitalism because these are the future workers that are going to go create the goods and services in the factory, like whatever. The idea is essentially that social reproduction theory looks upon the act of being a mother, of having children, of raising children as basically this is a new crop of workers to uphold capitalism. Mothers are having future proletariat workers who will be exploited to uphold capitalism and the bourgeois. But even more than that, mothers are not only having those future proletariat workers, they aren't getting paid to have those workers, okay? That is what unpaid labor means. Literally, unpaid labor. Literally, they are giving birth for free to support capitalism without capitalism paying them for it. And they also say that not only are they doing unpaid labor for free, they are also doing the unpaid domestic care, which is the cost of raising those future workers, and they may need to go get a job to pay the cost of raising those future workers, which is even more offensive than doing it for free in the first place. Because mothers don't get paid for being mothers, socialists consider that to be unpaid labor. Is everyone following? Is everyone good? I know I'm going slow, but I really want to make sure everyone's following along with this. Because if you understand, guys, if you understand these core concepts, that white supremacy is capitalism, how capitalism created the gender binary, and how the nuclear family upholds capitalism, that's like your key to the fucking kingdom. You will understand so much more socialist if you just understand these three things. Well, they don't think that the nuclear family should exist, and they think that children should be born via surrogacy. Okay, it looks like people are getting this. Okay, so then white supremacy, which is capitalism, created the gender binary, And the gender binary utilizes the nuclear family to create and raise future proletarian workers, children, who will be fed back into the machine to uphold capitalism. Well, yeah, they do view capitalism as slavery. They do. No, capitalism, I don't know exactly when they think capitalism began, but it was far before the Industrial Revolution. I'm just using the factory thing as an example. Okay. Therefore, because capitalism, white supremacy upholds the gender binary, and the gender binary created the nuclear family to create future workers to uphold capitalism, it's like a little circle. Okay. The socialist solution to all of this is to abolish capitalism. Anytime you see them talking about abolishing private property, which, by the way, they do consider your children to be private property and they want to liberate children from their families. Anytime you see them say abolish private property, abolish capitalism, those are roughly the same thing. If socialists do not abolish capitalism, they can never get to their Marxist utopia. Okay? So, according to social reproduction theory, the nuclear family is the breeding ground for future workers who are required to perpetuate capitalism. Because the nuclear family creates the future workers that will perpetuate capitalism, the nuclear family must be abolished in order to abolish capitalism, which they must do if they're ever going to get to their Marxist utopia. The gender binary is what created the nuclear family. So if they attack the gender binary through things like abortion, which we'll talk about in a second, if they attack the gender binary, that is then an attack on the nuclear family. Okay? So socialists believe that because the gender binary created the nuclear family, and because the gender binary assigned oppressive gender, and they, excuse me, I wrote that sentence a little weird. The gender binary created the nuclear family because the gender binary created the oppressive gender roles that forced women into motherhood. Because of that, abortion, bro, no shit posting. Because of that, abortion is necessary in the land of the socialist. Ayanna Pressley believes that abortion will liberate women from the oppressive gender role of motherhood. Does everyone understand why? Why does abortion liberate women from the oppressive role of motherhood? Because if they can liberate women from being mothers, then there's no more nuclear family, which means there's no more capitalism, right? So why do they believe that? Yes, exactly. So if we have a little circle, capitalism created the gender binary, which created the nuclear family, which upholds capitalism. If we have a little circle, I need to make a graphic, obviously, and we take gender binary out of it by putting abortion in, then it breaks the cycle. Exactly. So abortion decouples, it decouples gender and motherhood. No nuclear family. Motherhood perpetuates the nuclear family, meaning capitalism. So mothers don't produce capitalist workers because it interrupts the cycle of cultural and economic production. Exactly. You guys are getting it. If you give women a choice about whether or not they want to have kids, and I'm not suggesting we ban abortion, I'm not in favor of that, I'm pro-choice. I'm explaining the socialist philosophy. If we give women a choice, then they won't be forced to be in oppressive gender roles as a part of the nuclear family, which upholds capitalism. Therefore, The socialist strategy of abortion on demand is an attack on the gender binary, which is an attack on the nuclear family, which is an attack on capitalism. Okay, so now back to Ayanna Pressley's tweet. When Ayanna Pressley argues that abortion is a human right, she believes abortion bans uphold capitalism because they uphold oppressive gender roles that uphold the nuclear family. She opposes abortion bans because she believes that abortion is a tool to abolish the gender binary, which will undermine the nuclear family, which is an attack on capitalism. She believes that capitalism is what perpetuates cycles of poverty and puts lives at risk. Does that make sense? Is everyone tracking? We're going to watch some video after this. We're going to see a couple real world examples of this from the Socialism Conference, no less. Okay. So now let's get into some real world examples. So this is going to come from last week's article where I introduced you to Dr. Mary. Now, we also watched Dr. Mary's presentation on stream a couple weeks ago, and it was some crazy stuff, but I've got a few highlights because I want you guys to hear an actual socialist say this, okay? So we got a couple highlights from Dr. Mary. Now, in the first clip that we're going to show you, Mary is going to say that the gender binary is an invention of white supremacy, which means capitalism, based on men holding power and the division of labor in regard to care work being placed on the shoulders of women. Domestic care work and labor were feminized and devalued, meaning that women had to do them without getting paid. This refers to motherhood. This is all because of colonization. Colonization refers to private property, which is a reference to capitalism. And then Mary's going to say, that Mary literally says that reproductive autonomy in the form of abortion is an ancient sacred practice that is only repressed because of white supremacy. So you're going to see all the highlights here. So if women are free from their roles as mothers, they are free to work as slaves to the state. Well, not exactly. No. They don't believe they're slaves to the state when they're not in capitalism. Because remember, this is designed to abolish capitalism. So they're not slaves to the state if we don't have capitalism anymore. Let's listen to this first clip so you guys can hear Mary say it.
So on August 23rd, at the first debate of the U.S. Republican presidential primary candidates, multimillionaire Vivek Ramaswamy called for the abolition of the Department of Education. His argument hinged on how education starts in the home, and he closed by saying the nuclear family is the greatest form of government known to mankind. His glorification of the nuclear family is representative of the value set held by most on the far right, the idea that heterosexual cisgender couples with children are the beating heart of a free and prosperous nation. Underneath that belief, we see its ideological roots deep in the gender binary. The gender binary is a white supremacist invention born from men in power in the division of labor and care work in primitive Western Europe. I know all of it sucks. Male paternity became the absolute determinant of heritable wealth and property as class society was developing. Men in power sought exclusive right to their power, and women were excluded from participation in power structures. Domestic labor and care work were feminized and devalued. The gender binary was one aspect of the cultural devastation wrought by colonization. Prior to colonization, indigenous cultures the world over had more than two genders, with trans and non-binary individuals often holding positions of leadership. Expansive, non-binary gender expression and reproductive autonomy through contraception and abortion are ancient, sacred practices, and their repression has long been a tool of white supremacy.
So you see how it just went through all the talking points? Capitalism created the gender binary, and abortion is used to liberate people from the oppressive gender binary, which is a tool of white supremacy, which means capitalism. You can see, I'm not making any of this up, guys. You can see the socialists saying it for yourselves, but knowing the basis of why they're saying it makes it easier to understand what the language is. Danielle, I know you just joined. We're learning today. We're not saying their ideas are stupid. We're just learning what they think, because that's part of this, guys. Like, you've got to, if you want to truly understand their language, then you need to understand their perspective. What do they mean by far right? Anyone who's a capitalist? Yeah, anyone who's a capitalist. Now, in our next clip, Mary says the following: repressive gender binary roles, the result of white supremacy or capitalism, are necessary to maintain the nuclear family. The gender binary colludes with white supremacy, colonization, and capitalism. All three of these terms mean roughly the same thing insofar as socialists are concerned, and that the gender binary is behind attacks on abortion. Let's listen. Oh, why do I only have a screenshot in there? That doesn't make sense at all. Stand by. Why in the hell did I do that? Hang on, stand by. Well, that's something that'll get fixed later, but let me bring up this screen. I wrote it at 2 a.m. I don't know why I did that. Not that one. This one. Here it is. Here it is.
When Ramaswamy hails the nuclear family as the greatest form of governance, he is saying that the oppressive binary gender roles necessary to maintain the nuclear family are where oppressive government policies begin. Binary gender contributes to the creation and maintenance of a lower class of marginalized genders: cis and trans women, other trans people, non-binary and gender non-conforming folks who can then be more easily dehumanized and exploited. This is our starting point. The gender binary and its oppressive function. Colluding with white supremacy, colonization, and capitalism, we find the gender binary and ideology behind attacks on abortion, the criminalization of pregnancy outcomes, the mass incarceration of Black and brown people, the separation of families at the border, the criminalization of trans existence. Anything outside its narrow stricture is threatening to it and thus will be a target of the right.
All right, you guys see how that matched up? And guess what? Because I'm so quick, I've already updated the article to actually have the clip in it. So now the clip is in it. But did everyone see that? Repressive roles are behind the nuclear, repressive gender roles are behind the nuclear family. The gender binary colludes with all these things. And then we get to our last clip where Mary confirms that the goal is to destroy the nuclear family.
But some of their fears may be legitimate, because destroying the nuclear family through sexual liberation and queer relationship anarchy sounds pretty great.
Now, we didn't get into this in this lesson, okay? But abortion is just, and again, guys, I'm pro-choice. I think access to safe, legal, and rare abortion should exist. But what you need to understand, this is not about making the argument that we should outlaw all abortion, or we should outlaw this, or we should outlaw that. What you guys need to understand is that socialists will take advantage of every single tool that they have in their toolbox in order to attack capitalism. So you can be pro-choice and still acknowledge that the way that socialists are using abortion is to attack the gender binary, to attack the nuclear family, which is an attack on capitalism, okay? Now, another way that they're attacking the nuclear family by attacking the gender binary is, of course, through queer Marxism. That is a different thing for a different day. But they are, what I want you to take away from this is they're attacking it on multiple fronts. They're throwing spears, they're shooting arrows, they're doing whatever they can. They are attacking these concepts on multiple fronts. So abortion is just one way that they're attacking the gender binary. Queer Marxism is another way they're attacking the gender binary. And all of that leads back to attacks on the nuclear family, which is an attack on capitalism. Okay? Everyone understand? So to sum it up, white supremacy means capitalism. Capitalism created the gender binary. The gender binary created the nuclear family. You cannot get rid of capitalism without getting rid of the gender binary. To get rid of the nuclear family, you must get rid of the gender binary. Abortion attacks the gender binary by liberating women from the roles of unpaid caregivers by capitalism to raise the next crop of capitalist workers carried out in the nuclear family. Everyone clear? Anyone have any questions? I'm going to say it one more time. White supremacy means capitalism. Capitalism created the gender binary. The gender binary created the nuclear family. You cannot get rid of capitalism without getting rid of the nuclear family. To get rid of the nuclear family, you must get rid of the gender binary, and abortion attacks the gender binary by liberating women from the roles of unpaid caregivers assigned by capitalism to raise the next crop of capitalist workers carried out in the nuclear family. This is a lot. And I want to emphasize this. This is a lot. I just laid like 17 episodes of Socialism Saturday on you in one article where I tried to sum it up. Does this mean Vivek clearly understands this and is using the nuclear family theme? I think he understands it. Yes, I do. I think there is a very specific reason. Actually, let's look at that. Because Vivek actually shared one of those clips that we just saw. Yay. I think that he does understand this. I think that Vivek is very, very smart. I think that he understands clearly what's going on. And I know that because he's followed my work for a really long time. Vivek has followed me for a really long time, like really long time. You can see he follows me on Twitter. No joke. He actually does follow me. And I'm not the only one talking about this. I think he understands this from other people too. But I also think that it is very specific that he is focusing on the nuclear family. And there's a reason that he shared this clip and he responded to it. He understands what's going on. This is one of the reasons I support him. He is the only Republican candidate I will support, not just so that he retweets my stuff, but like, I really do think that Vivek understands this, okay? So this is our little summary. Ooh, not that one, that one. If you're still wrapping your head around this, it's a lot, but just keep coming back to it, guys. And we'll keep reviewing, and I will repeat the same thing over and over and over and over and over again until I'm blue in the face. God knows I've done it before. I will do it again. But just if you're not there yet, you're not there yet, but just know that this is where you need to end up, okay? This will explain so much to you about why the socialists are doing what they're doing. Selena says, I think I just got that it's not about how these ideas work in the framework of their Marxist utopia, but rather about how to bring about their revolution. Yes, Selena. Yes, that is correct. Again, the 4 goals of the woke left are always and forever the same. Gain as much power as possible, destabilize the system, attack capitalism. All of those 3 things are about bringing about their revolution so they can usher in their Marxist utopia. That's the revolution, guys. The revolution is the 4th step. There are 3 before it. Well done, Selena. I'm just scrolling through the chat, guys. That is another topic for another day, Raquel. They do have a vision. It looks a little bit like The Giver. But that's another topic for another day. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Again, I know this is a lot. I know that I've laid a very heavy amount of socialism on you, but if you can wrap your head around this, Everything else gets a lot easier after this, okay? This is the big piece. We've given you 3 big things. White supremacy, gender binary, and nuclear family. If you understand these 3 things, then everything else gets easier from here. This teaches you how they manipulate language. It teaches you how they think the world developed. It teaches you why they think the world is so effed up and how their version of the world is better. Just because you understand something doesn't mean you have to agree with it, okay? I don't agree with any of this garbage, but you need to know your enemy so that you can defeat them. Why do they replace capitalism with white supremacy? Because they believe that whiteness perpetuates capitalism. They believe it's the same thing. It's not, and it also creates divisions. I mean, listen, if they have millions of conservatives running around screaming, "Everyone hates white people." Can you guys hang on? Can you guys understand how this benefits socialists? When conservative influencers are all like, "White people are poor, abused victims of the world. White people are oppressed," and then they've got all these millions of conservatives running around saying, "The world oppresses white people. We're poor, abused victims. We're oppressed." Can you understand how that benefits conservatives? Every single time there's some sort of white lives matter thing, that benefits socialists. Excuse me, not benefits conservatives. I said benefits conservatives. I've been talking for 2 hours. Can you understand how this benefits socialists? To make conservatives look racist. Every time there's a white lives matter thing, socialist wins. Every single time Charlie Kirk is ranting about how white people are poor and abused, socialists win. Every single time Matt Walsh talks about how hard white Christians have it, socialists win. That's why they do it. Beth, thank you for the super chat. I do appreciate it. Yes, guys, in about 10 minutes, we do have a community Zoom to get through. If you would like to join the community Zoom, what you need to do is head over to my Substack, Carlyn, KARLYN.substack.com, and then I need you to go to the Unwoke Roundup email. If you scroll down to the bottom of the Unwoke Roundup email, you are going to come to a section that is a supporter perks section. If you are a paid supporter on the Substack, that red box will not be there. What will be there is a Zoom link. And you can come in about 10 minutes and join me for a private community Zoom with my other supporters. And we talk about a whole bunch of stuff. We do it for about 3 hours. And you can come and join and just sit back and listen, or you can introduce yourself or whatever you want to do. They are private. They are unrecorded. They happen on Mondays at 7 p.m. and on Wednesdays at noon. And it is a supporter-only perk, so I do hope I will see you on there. That is all I have for right now, guys. I hope I broke down the code for you. Again, if you have questions, do let me know in the comments. Please do mount that like button on your way out the door. Programming note, there will not be a 5 p.m. stream tomorrow because I'm doing an interview for a national radio show tomorrow about the socialism conference, and the only time they could do it was 5 p.m. Okay, so I'm canceling the stream tomorrow for a good reason, but I'm gonna make it up to you. We're gonna do that Sargon of Akkad stream at some point. But like that's why it's like I have a national radio interview tomorrow at 5 p.m. And so it's a good thing I made the decision. I did what I did. But anyway, so I will see you guys tomorrow though for Nothing Remotely Controversial. We will still be doing Nothing Remotely Controversial. And that'll be at 9:30 tomorrow, guys. Please mount the like button on the way out the door. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel if you are not already. And I'll see you guys.